some of the stuff you're gonna need if you're gonna steelhead fish. Basic stuff to get going. Make sure you got good fluorocarbon leader. That's the number one thing when you're dealing with these steelhead because they're great eyesight. This fluorocarbon leader. You want to have a selection anywhere from 3 or 4 pound up to 8 to 10 depending on where you're fishing, and you match that to the water clarity. You know, super clear water, 3-4 pounds where you're at. You got stained up water, you can get away with your 10 pound, 8 pounds, pretty normal. Lots of split shot. I have everything from 2 gram down to even super small BB and stuff like that. You want to have a real good selection of shot. The main thing to remember your shot is you want non-removable. If you get split shot that has the wings on it, the removable shot, the current actually grabs that. And what it'll do is it'll make your presentation in the water almost spin because it grabs the fins on that removable shot. So you want to remember that. Another thing is you want a good selection of hooks. I like Blackbird Sabertooths. I like the Raven Specialist hooks. You want to carry anywhere from size 10 up to, let's say, size 16 if you're going to be single egg fishing. Now, a lot of times we're float fishing, we're using egg sacks, single eggs. You always want a good selection, maybe some different scents. I carry a couple different scents. I carry natural stuff. I carry single eggs. The single egg is made to fish on a hook by itself. Very squishy, can't pop it. You can pierce that egg with a hook. It gives it a slow milk, and that works really effectively in clear water. Now when you get into your dirtier situations, you know, you want a nice variety of sacks. These are salmon, king salmon eggs. Pink chartreuse is really good on dirty water days. And then you get down to your clear water days, maybe a nice peach or a white, maybe even a smaller sack will work real good when that water cleans up. So as far as that goes, that's what you got. As far as your rods, many different ways to go on rods. I carry a variety when I'm guiding. This here is a 10'6" Okuma. This is a moderate action 10'6". This is a really good rod for steelhead fishing in the Great Lakes tributaries. It can handle, I've landed quite large salmon on a rig like this. Your reel, the number one thing on a reel is a nice smooth drag. These steelhead will absolutely destroy a reel when they're burning drag on a cheap reel all day. I'd definitely put some money into your reel with a good drag. A moderate action's a good float drift rod. Your real light rods are okay, but you're going to struggle on a big fish. But it's got a lot of good flex to it, so you'll have a good time landing them, that's for sure. So those setups like that we use pretty much the most with clients because they're easy to use. This here is a 12-foot center pin rod. We use these float rods here on the center pins anywhere from 12 foot to a 15 foot on the center pins. Now a center pin reel is a little more advanced. It free spools forward, it free spools backwards. This is made for the ultimate drift. As that float goes down the stream, the line just comes off, the reel spins. It gives you about the most natural presentation you can possibly get. So that's a little more advanced. We run like 15-pound mainline up to 20 on these, and then the same setup as our float rods. Now, as far as the setup goes on the rig from the float down, we're going to start here. This is a 7 gram float, pretty standard for medium current. The heavier the current, the heavier the float, because you want to stack more shot to hold yourself in that heavy current. So what we have here is a 7 gram float. You start with your big shot. This is 2 gram, 2 gram. Now you got to more of a medium size, a little smaller, a little smaller, a little smaller, very small, and then our hook where our egg goes. The whole purpose of this is when that float's in the water, you want the heavy side at the float, you want the lightest at the bottom. So that gives you a natural presentation with that staggered shot pattern. So that's the number one most important thing on your rig, is from your float down, staggered shot, lightest here. You want the fish to see your lure first. As far as the tackle goes, there's a lot of different options here. I do a lot of bead fishing. I know a lot of guys I fish with love beads. You want a good assortment of good colors. These are all soft beads, 8mm and 10mm. A good variety of colors. Also hard beads. I love the hard beads, the craft beads. They don't have to be real expensive. You can get stuff like this at Joann Fabrics and stuff like that even. Good selection of oranges, pinks, and chartreuses and peaches. Those are usually the go-to colors. More soft bead options. What I like about the soft beads, they're so effective. Even some of these beads, as you can see, like this Double Natural by Lickum Lures, it almost has a yoke to it. And it's amazing how they've manipulated them. They work really good. So on top of beads, another thing you need to have in your arsenal is a good selection of jigs. I like a lot of black, I like a lot of white jigs, but jigs like these work great. Even woolly bugger patterns. You're gonna have a really good selection of jigs. Whites, blacks, olives, a little bit of everything for color. Now your floats, there's almost 3 tiers to this. Now when you're steelhead fishing, you want a clear bottom or a black bottom or also a camo bottom. This is an 11-gram Raven. That's a really good float for really fast water when you're dealing with heavier current. Now when you get into a little more medium flow, a Drennan like this, 6.4-gram loafer is a good float. And then when you get into more of like a frog water situation, a little Drennan like this is a 1.5. I use this a lot for single leg fishing. And this works really good for those really clear water days, super low current, and a small presentation. You can see those tiny bites that normally you'll miss. So that's about it for that selection. And we're gonna go get on some fish. It's a beautiful first one of the day right there. So this spot right here, what we were talking about earlier, to go along with our rig up, our float, our staggered shot, down to our egg sack. Now how to present it, first thing you gotta do is look at the water you're gonna fish. This spot right here, so we got some rocks right here. We got a bend in the river. If you look, you can see the white bubbles cruising through the seam here in this main meat part of the run. If you put your float over there on that far bank, you're not going to get any flow. Your float's just going to sit dead still, or else it'll back swirl back. Your main line's going to catch the current. It won't be a natural presentation. So when you're looking at a spot like this, you want to find that meat of the current. You want to fish the seam of the current or right in it, depending on how strong it is. So a spot like this, it looks like right down through the middle on the other side of this boulder, there's a real nice sweep and run right here. So when you're going to do that, we're just going to make a little flip out here. As soon as it hits the water, cock the float back. That way you're getting your eggs and your shot pattern and everything kicked out where it needs to be. And now you can steer that float right down through that run, right where the fish are going to be. And if you got your eggs kicked out, your float back, natural presentation going through the run, you're going to hook some fish.